You come into law school, you focus on those things, you end up doing that kind of law. But what happens for you is the transformation that I was wanting. You get into that place and you realize, oh, wow, I can question even what's been told to me at a young age. I can kind of question everything in a matter that makes my life change in a constructive way. Welcome to the How Does She Do It show. I'm joined today by LaVonne Idlette. LaVonne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kara. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being on the show. I need you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Before we dive into all of the great things we're going to talk about, please tell these people who you are and a little bit about what you do.
My name is LaVonne Idlette. I am from Virginia originally, now a Miami adopted person who happened to be an Olympic track and field athlete in my former life. I am now a securities attorney and wealth strategist. I run my family's family office, and I help high achievers with building enterprise systems, becoming abundant givers, and creating their own assets so that they can get other people to be able to invest with them in the things that they do great.
Ooh, girl. Whoa. Okay. Now, I have about 1 million questions popping up in my head about what that means. So I'm sure our listeners are like, what does this woman do? This is so fascinating. I can't even begin to like unravel all of that without your help. So the first thing that I want to do is start with, what do you do? Who do you help? How do you help them? And how did you do that?
Okay. My background in securities is nothing more than the type of law that is governed when people take money from others who are not going to participate. So investors who are just not involved. From that, I learned basically the world of finance works. And I started helping people who were high achievers, which means that like you do something really well, scale that by bringing on investors. And so that's when I say create your own asset. It's literally you are building an entity that you allow other people to participate in and you bring them back money babies. And
money babies. Ooh, yeah. Okay. I like that.
And the enterprise structure that I set up for them has mostly to do with privacy, asset protection, and tax mitigation. And so all of those things interplayed helps you keep a lot more of your money, protect you from the eventuality of what will happen when you die, and make sure that all of the people who are weird and want to sue you for absolutely nothing have a very hard time.
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to water this down to, and you tell me if I got it.
Okay.
You basically take winners who are winning and you help them win more by creating a container that attracts people into their world, that allows them to make more money and to protect themselves while they're growing that thing. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. I think I got it. So give us an example of some of the people that you typically work with.
Yeah. So I have like 3 sorts of different types of clients. So professional athletes, I help them in a way that's more like people can't participate in what you do, obviously, but most of them care about a thing. So in a place. And so what I do with them is help them partner with people who are doing great things in those areas, such as building affordable housing. And they can use their social status to bring more investors, to make a little easier pathway with the government because they love them there also, so that these projects can get off the ground. And we do that in a way that shields them from having a lot more taxable liability and stuff like that. So it's inside of entities, but also helps them use their philanthropic arm. So that's one. The other.
Hold on. I got to highlight this. This is an interesting perspective. So what I'm hearing is you're helping professional athletes in all of these great ways, right? Helping them protect their assets, helping them, right, find a way for others to participate. But that last little bit there with the philanthropic aspect, is that something that's like essential to what you do? Like it always has to have some degree of philanthropy to it?
Yes. So for me, I was just raised in a way that's like giving is the most fulfilling part of your life. And so we create those arms partially because it allows you to be a better giver in a more structured way, not just like willy-nilly, but also because it has some tax advantages to doing it that way also. But so you put it all together and being an abundant giver is a real win.
That's amazing. So it's not just the heart, it's the heart, which is important, I think is
Yep.
usually missing from these conversations, quite frankly. I think we
Hmm.
tend to hear about athletes and people who are celebrities making a lot of money, just making more money doing things, but you rarely hear about the heart. So you add the heart and then your background as an attorney in the SEC, an SEC attorney, you're able to actually help the heart and the taxes. You bring those two things together for this perfect like cocktail of impact for both the athlete and the community that they're impacting, right?
That's right.
Okay. I love it. All right. So number two.
Okay, so number two would be somebody who runs like a great business. So like I have a person and they buy assisted living facilities. What they're doing is really lucrative for them, but the creation of the fund that will make more of these allows other people to participate. They don't have to do anything. They just give the money, receive a check on a quarterly basis, but also they're a part of that impact that he's doing, which is like making sure that our aging community gets good treatment where people care about them and it's got some arms of protection. And so that's number two.
So
Okay.
for number two, you're looking at business owners, people that have very successful businesses, lucrative businesses, and you're
Mhm.
creating that same sort of, you keep saying arm, right? So you're creating this like this piece of their business that allows them to continue to make profit, continue to grow the business, but doing so in a way that protects them again, right?
Protects them and allows them to accelerate their growth while others can participate.
Oh, okay, yes. So it's inviting others into that situation, that business,
Yes.
that I don't know what the word is, that like intention, that thing that they're trying to do better. In this case, caring for like aging
Hmm.
individuals. Okay.
Yep.
Love it. All right, number three.
All right. And so then number three is the person who is building a business and they are on the verge of like an exit of that business. So they've already done something great, blah, blah, blah. It's building, building, building. And now they're like, what do I do now?
Hey, if you're a high achieving woman who's built a good career but low key feels like you're outgrowing it, the Exit Plan Challenge is for you. It's where I walk you through exactly how to pivot out of your 9 to 5 and into something that actually fits who you are now. It's not fluff, it's strategy, it's mindset, it's momentum. Turn your existing skill set or your God given talent into a profitable business that gives you back your freedom. And hey, if you're serious, I would encourage you to hop into the VIP experience. This is where I'll coach you personally and answer your questions. I'd love to see you there.
It's sort of like next chapter of life slash I'm probably still really young, just like athletes. And so I help them with in the same way that I help athletes, except for like they may not have as much social capital.
Mm.
So their way of doing things is like being able to bring their expertise to the people. And so they create that same vehicle that allows them to allow others to invest, but they're able to bring knowledge, unfair advantage of having like old vendor relationships and all of that kind of stuff to people who are probably in that industry or an adjacent industry and get advisory shares and things like that and like just build for their next life.
Oh, I love this. This is like a second cousin to sort of what I do, right? Helping develop entrepreneurs as experts or as coaches. It's like we're distant relatives with that, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So all of this is, I mean, honestly amazing and totally even above my head. I'm like, you have got to explain this to me in a way I understand. So I gotta know, like, take me back to the beginning, LaVonne. Take me
Okay.
back to like, I even pre-Olympics. Like,
Okay.
where were you in life? How were you raised? what in the world happened in your life to have you end up here doing this amazing work that you do?
I was born in Hampton, Virginia, on a military base with parents who were in the military, but were no longer in the military. So I grew up, stayed there. And my father moved back to Florida and started his journey as a real estate developer. And so, like, the theme that you will realize in my life is that my father thinks that he is the brain and that I am Pinky. So he always is like, go do this, go do this, go do this. And so I cannot take credit for like the trajectory that I went on specifically, because most of it is like puppeted. So from the very beginning, I would spend my summer in Florida and he would have me in the office and in FedEx and faxes. So I know a lot about real estate for absolutely force. I wanted to go outside and play, and he's like, we can go play after these deals close. So that was just like my entire life. My grandfather actually owns Orange Grove, so we're more or less a real estate family. My mother owns salons. So my first business actually was a salon, because, you know, when you got a brain on one side, you're going the other way. Like, why are you always trying to tell me what to do? So, and so I went to college to run track, more or less. And
wait a minute, hold on. Whoa. Okay, go back. Okay, so you're being, no, you're great. I'm just like so captivated by what you're saying. I want to make sure that we don't miss any of these moments. Like, this is interesting. You are a Black woman and you are raised by, I'm assuming, Black people. Is that right? Okay. You never know. You never know. So you're raised by Black people, and your influence from them has the perspective that I don't think we hear a lot. A lot of the people that I interview either on this podcast or people that I encounter in life that are high performing individuals are typically battling some trauma in their upbringing. Not to imply that you didn't have any, but based on what you said, you were really given a very great trajectory that you recognize. I had this influence from my father. We were a real estate family. And then my mother is this entrepreneur. And so even in your like rebellion, you rebelled towards entrepreneurship. And while that's not the end of the story, I think that's worth highlighting.
Yeah. So I never realized that other people weren't exposed to things until I became an adult. Because when people started saying like, oh, I never learned anything about investing or money or this or that or credit, we literally had conversations about these kinds of things my entire life. Like my grandfather would say, you pay yourself first. I was 10 years old. I didn't even know what that meant.
What?
And what he means when he says that is, you pay yourself because you are the hard worker, the first 10%. You pay the bills with the rest. So don't do it the other way around.
Your grandfather's telling you this concept that like somebody wrote a book called Profit First. I forget his name, but it made millions of dollars off of this thing that you've been hearing since you were 10. That's beautiful.
Yes. So I didn't realize that other people weren't learning this until I became an adult. And then I was so sports centric and focused on being a doctor, because what happens when you are a child who's really good in school, they tell you to be the things that like smart people do, like be a doctor. So I'm like, yes, okay, I'm gonna be a doctor. I wanted to be a dermatologist my whole life because they told me that was what I was gonna be great at. And then I shadowed my dermatologist for one summer and was like, there's no way I'm doing this.
Wait, why? What was it? Like the skin stuff?
Well, so in my mind, I'm making people beautiful. On the first day, we did like hemorrhoids. Whoa, I don't do butt skin.
What?
Too much. And then,
are you kidding me?
Yes, because it all counts. And then, on top of that, what people fail to realize when they give children aspirations without like taking any account for who they are, I don't like touching people. So like I am the person who walks in the room, who waves so that I don't have to hug and kiss people in the room. Like,
okay. Everybody listening, if you ever meet LaVonne in person, just wave.
Come on.
Don't be offended. She don't want to touch you. It's not about you. Okay.
Hey, my mama said, COVID was your time. I already know you was loving it. And I was like, 6 feet, baby. Give me 6 feet.
I love it. Okay. So the dermatology was just like not a good fit for you on multiple levels.
No, but I still felt like I am supposed to be a doctor because I am smart and that's what smart people do. Even though my father has been telling me this entire time, you don't want to be a doctor. It's not a good career path. You're going to be working hard and you're not going to make that much money. And I'm like, but you don't know because you ain't no doctor. So,
yeah.
But he pinkies me. And I end up in finance as a degree. I do go to college for free. I run track there. And 5 of us do go to the Olympics together. So we had a squad at this small HBCU in Hampton, Virginia, known as Hampton University, aka the real HU.
Shout out. That's incredible. Yes. 5 of you went to the Olympics. Whoa.
My young life, I was surrounded by really high achievers. I didn't even know though. So like I was also in a gifted program growing up. And so like now.
So you're just not aware. Your normal is everybody's high achieving. That's just the normal.
Right. Huh. And then so like I have I was in this like gifted program, which I think is like I really think every state should adopt this. And it was just that like they took every high testing kid for 1 day a week and we went and we played together and just did like these ridiculous math problems and like learned all this stuff that had nothing to do with like the school's curriculum, and it kept us engaged because in real life they didn't want to skip us because of the social, but bringing it when we go together we're just like, oh, this is so much fun and we're learning all these things, and it kept us balanced. But the program only goes until the 8th grade. And so after that, you watched us all sort of like flounder and not do homework. And so it was like, it's very terrible the way that like public schools sort of like mediocrizes everybody, because it's sort of like we have to go so that the average student can understand. Right. And like the people who already understand, we're like, you really thought I was going to do that homework with them 100 problems with that same formula? Not happening. So I'm gonna take my seat. It really does harm outliers. And so by the time I realized that any of this is a thing, because literally this is just my normal. So I like reading books. I whatever. Nerdy kid who happens to be fast.
Yeah, very fast, apparently. And by the way, you ran hurdles, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because you've got to be a little crazy to run full speed at barriers. And to be honest, and I shout this girl out to this day, because again, I've always been around high achievers. I went to high school at a very highly nationally ranked track team. And there was a girl on my team named Erin Towns, and she beat me in practice every day. And that's why I don't run 100. So basically I was like,
thanks.
This ain't fun. I'm used to being I grew up outside, so I know I'm fast. I've run in light pole to light pole. Can't nobody beat me. They on bikes. I know I'm fast.
Oh my gosh.
And I get to this school, and this girl makes me feel like I am running in place. Okay. Wow. So I told my coach, I was like, this ain't fun. If I'm not going to win, I'm going to go and play tennis. I have better things to do. Like, I'm actually athletic. And he's like, let's try hurdles. Let's try long jump. Let's try high jump. Let's try all these things, which I end up doing all of that, including the heptathlon when I went to college. So I'd be like, shout out to you for me trying new things. Because if I had just been fast, I might have not tried those other events.
I love that. There's a beautiful metaphor there, right? I think sometimes in life, especially in your case, but I find that in high achieving individuals in general, there is always something that they've done extremely well throughout their life, right? You don't find high achievers as a literal overnight success. You don't just like wake up one morning and then boom, you've done something incredible. You see these high achieving traits throughout their life. And oh my gosh, there's this great show on Netflix called The Coach's Playbook. Did you watch it?
I think I've seen one episode.
Okay. Well, the one with Serena Williams, it's her tennis coach talking about like why he worked with Serena after she'd already won the US Open, I think multiple times, right? And so he's brought in to work with her, and they're interviewing him about what it was like working with like the best tennis player in the world, right? Like when you're brought in to coach her, what that experience is like. And he says that he finds when people are super talented, so all of the people that he's worked with, they have some degree of talent. But when they're super talented, you have to be a certain type of coach that basically takes no crap. And you have to be the one to put them in their place, because he starts telling about what makes really talented, high achieving athletes lose is this idea that they tank the match. When they go up against somebody who's less talented than them, rather than trying, they will literally tank the match and then say, oh, my knee was hurting, or I wasn't in it, or the ref wasn't calling the game fairly. Because talented people, they need to be forced into that level of greatness, because without it, they'll just back away.
Yep.
Right?
That is 100% a fact, because I remember I had a coach in high school, as a matter of fact. My coach in high school, he was saying, if I'm racing someone who I don't think is like good, like I might win, but I'm not going to win with like the level of execution that I should have based on like what times I actually run. Cause like track and field is a very individual sport. You're in your own lane. Like you can literally run as fast as you want in your lane, right? You're not really racing those people. Those people just happen to be there. So I wouldn't run that fast. And he's just like, you are lowering your level of talent to your competition, and it's stupid. And I was sort of like, well, I wouldn't sign up for a spelling bee against a slow class. So that's how I feel when I go to a competition where I just don't feel like there's a good matchup. Because I think that like it's no need to dominate. But then I had to get a coach that was like, domination is all there is. And like, he just had to like psychologically drill that into me to make me like be better.
And even in this girl that ran the 100 that was faster than you, you just assumed you were going to be the fastest at everything. And because we're losing to her, which high achievers don't want to do. You don't want to lose. You don't ever want to lose. You always want to win. That's a goal. Win, 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 win. Even in what you do now, you help winners win more, right?
That's right.
So when somebody comes in and they're better than you at something, you're not going to stop the desire to win, especially if you know you can't actually beat that person, right? Like there are some things in life, you may be the best at this, and this, but I guarantee there is somebody who's better than you at that.
Yep.
And in this case, go ahead.
What I was about to say is like, that's also the thing about like high achievers lean into things that they high achieve in. So like being very focused on, okay, I'm very strong at this. I'm going to make myself stronger. I'm not going to focus so much on things that I'm not good at, because that is a waste of time. And I feel like I take that into business. Like I'm never going to tell myself that I need to learn how to do a specific type of modality better, because there's someone who loves that and does that well already. So I'm going to lean into all the things I do really well and like just be super strong at it.
Yeah.
And because like, I stink at soccer. I'm not going to spend my time trying to figure out how to be a little bit better at soccer, how to be a little bit less terrible. I'd rather focus on where I can be great and like spend all my energy on like being greater at that thing.
Yeah. And it's the thing for me about going to hurdles and going to those other options to be fast, right? It's such a metaphor for a lot of, I think, our listeners who are already crushing it in their careers, who are already crushing it at being even stay-at-home moms, whatever job that they may have. I think there's a misconception that like you can't be strong at something and pivot and be even stronger in that lane. Like we're not saying make a total leap. Don't go from track to soccer. But if you're fast and you can go fast in this lane, and this lane gives you the ticket to the Olympics, this lane gives you the ticket to the dream, take that path, right?
Yes. But I also think that like most people just don't have the person in their life that can see the strength that they have and can show them and expose them to something that allows them to do that. Because like had my coach not said try hurdles, I probably just would have quit. Like I'm good.
Yep.
Because the same thing can be said for like when I was in college, I became a lawyer because I had one teacher who taught business law in the business program say, you do really well at this. I didn't have to curb your grade and I teach a Socratic method. You should go to law school. And I had never even considered it. Like, law school for what? I don't want to be no lawyer. I wanted to be a doctor. Like, I'm just in this business school to make my daddy happy. And then like law school, and mind you, when I got to law school, it was so fun because it's word math. I love
I
math.
feel offended. I hated law school, but go ahead. Go ahead. We're going to talk about your word math. I'm going to put my trauma in the back seat for the moment. It's about you today.
But you know what? Something really interesting happened to me in law school. So, number one, yes, I am Black, and I grew up with Black parents and Black grandparents. And what do they tell you? Don't break the law. Don't let them people bring you home. All that kind of stuff. Stay out the way. And I get to law school, and all they're telling you is like, they can't tell you that. That ain't true. That the people who are making these laws are not perfect. They are doing, like, some of this is unconstitutional, making you question the fabric of things that you've just been living under. And I was like, y'all let me free. Who did this?
Interesting.
I'm out.
Interesting.
And so I'm like, y'all probably may have ruined my ability to listen to anything else because now I question everything. Well, why do we do this? Well, why is this law here? Is this the best and most effective way to do things? And I really like rule-based law. That's how I got into like the security side, because there's like, okay, there's the Investor Act, there's the Securities Act, there's these things, and it's very rule specific. I also was in bankruptcy court. I absolutely love that. I love taxation because it's rules, not that like, was it consideration? Maybe. Contract law. I really hate contract law. I would never litigate contracts. It's so ridiculous.
Interesting. So for you, the draw to law school, again, and let's back it up to a couple of important things you said. Number one, you said a lot of times people don't pivot because they don't have that person in their life that can show them, hey, these talents and these skills that you have would really lend themselves to this path, right? Yep. I love that you said that. I find that also to be true in my own journey, that I always have, like, they have these key moments of individuals in my life that were pouring into me when they didn't have to, right? And so, as you now know, I went to law school. I don't know if I had mentioned that before, but I went to law school. And for me, the reason that I went is because I was a debater in high school. All right. And so I did speech and drama, and I did debate, and I did very well at debate. I really enjoyed it, and we did well. We were very successful. And so when it came to college, I still did the acting stuff. But when I got out of college, I realized that, like, I wanted to, make a difference in the world. And so I'm highlighting this to really show the difference in what your journey was, because I went to law school as an artist, as a creative, as an actor, wanting impact, wanting to make a difference. So I wanted to do civil rights law. I wanted to, even in law school, I was like advocating for like more classes on jurisprudence because I thought the Socratic method was trash. I thought the whole competition of law school was trash. I couldn't understand why they weren't putting us in the field sooner, and then why the competition was so high to even get any experience as being an attorney. And I also really struggled socially in law school because what I went for was kind of like a young adolescent experience of growing up. And most people come to law school wanting to be a lawyer, right? They come to law school like, I want this career. And so I really hated it. And it was awful for me, and it was traumatic for me. And I ended up leaving. However, in your situation, you understand numbers. You understand you wanted to be a doctor. So you had this like linear way of thinking about things. You come into law school, you focus on those things, you end up doing that kind of law. But what happens for you is the transformation that I was wanting. You get into that place and you realize, oh, wow, I can question even what's been told to me at a young age. I can kind of question everything in a matter that makes my life change in a constructive way. Right?
Yep. And I actually didn't want to be a lawyer when I went to law school at all. When I got there, I'm like, okay, I want to be really smart. I already had an MBA. And I was like, okay, Fortune 100 CEOs have MBA JDs. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just go be smarter. That was the plan. Even though my dad is like, you gonna, and this is what I need. So he got me taking real estate finance classes, land use classes, things that is gonna help his real estate development company. So
as you do, you are his property, right?
And I get there, and this is 100% how you finesse, because basically the school made me pay for the bar exam and bar prep in the tuition. So like, I'm like, well, I already paid for it, so I might as well take it. And then I passed, and I was like, fine. But all the way through that point, I still was like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm never. And then like, yeah, I'm never.
And so what was the plan? Was to be a CEO? The plan was to be smart? Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
So basically, I went there with the idea that I'm going to. So what I realized what school was to skip steps. So when I was leaving college, they offered me an entry-level position at Goldman Sachs and Frito-Lay's, which sounded like slavery. So I said no thanks. And then I got a contract to run track. So I was like, all right, cool. And I was in grad school. And then after grad school, I realized, okay, people with MBAs come and they're mid-level managers. So now I can skip that step by going to law school, and then it puts you in the C-suite.
Wow.
So that's all I'm thinking is, how do I skip all that other stuff that sounds like slavery? Now, get me to the top and get me to the real money. But what I also learned along that path, including doing like some internships and stuff like that, was, well, I worked in the bankruptcy court actually in law school. I absolutely love that. But because it's not adversarial at all. It's like, you ain't getting none, you ain't getting none, you ain't getting none. Y'all ready to have a drink? All right. So, but what I realized, a lot of things that I realized in that process, I had already sort of gotten. Number one is that I'm probably not a corporate person. One, because I absolutely hate group work. I hated the MBA program because it was nothing but group work, and nobody wasn't doing none of the group work. They just want to take credit for it. And they're like, oh, this is how the real world works. Ooh. I was like, ghetto, no thanks. And then the other thing I realized was watching my friends who had supercharged that path, and how unhappy they were with the level of decision making they actually had. Like, they were figureheads, they have great titles, but they weren't actually doing anything that like made a difference whatsoever. And they were subject to a lot of like just ridiculous, what I would consider hazing. And like, God was working on me still at that point. Like, I would have gotten into a fight. Like, you can't do but so much to me to make me just be like,
what do you mean by hazing?
Hazing is like, I am your boss and I did something wrong, but you have to take the fall for me.
Really?
Yeah, because you won't get in as much trouble, and it's so much easier, and I need to look good. So anytime that I don't look good, it needs to be you.
Good Lord. Listen, this, and you're talking about
they'll lie on you. Yeah.
And we're talking like corporate, we're talking lawyers, we're talking like those big jobs with the big money, the big titles. Basically, you end up losing a degree of integrity and dignity.
Yep.
So you see this and you're like, oh no, that's not for me. I will fight somebody and end up in jail. Okay.
Because, yeah, no thanks. And so in that journey, I was raised by entrepreneurs. So I already knew that, like, even if you get a job, you're going to have like like my grandfather was the chairman of the school board running 2 businesses. So I knew that like you could do multiple things at one time. And so my first business, I owned a salon in Fort Lauderdale, and with a partner. And the lesson there was, I have been raised in a bubble. And what is a bubble? A bubble is people do what they say they're going to do. People act with integrity. People who say they love you don't do things that are contra love. So I get this business partner, and she's like stealing money, smiling in my face, acting like it was just so many things happening that was like, oh, my rose-colored glasses. Oh my gosh. Like, there are people who really behave this way.
This is an interesting point. I have to tell you, like being from a small town in Kansas, um, you know, I think the whole state kind of puts you in a bubble because it's like this conservative farm town. You're not connected to anything that's related to mass media. Like to get to a movie theater, we had to drive 30 minutes, which equals like 35 miles, right? Through farmland to get to the next town to go to a movie theater. And because you're so disconnected in that way, it really is the community values that is what raises you.
Yep.
And being in that bubble myself, I realize it's one of the things I'm actually grateful for. I would never raise my kids in that small environment. Also, because my babies are Black. That wasn't a great experience for me. But I understand now that those values of integrity, those values of honesty, like my mom just started locking her doors 2 years ago. Like those things, they run deep in you and you can assume that everybody else feels that way. But my first business coach ever, he said to me, I was really mad because I had a client that took one of my trainings and gave it to his friend, which by the way, I probably would have let him. I would have been like, yeah, for sure. Share this with your friend if you think it can help him out. But he just took my, proprietary information and gave it to someone without telling me. And I was so hurt. And my coach was like, you need to stop assuming that people have the same level of integrity as you, because I'm going to tell you right now, they don't. And that is hard. Even to this day, I feel like it's hard to accept that people are not going to do things with that high level that you do them with, because also you're either raised with it. So in your case, right, it's ingrained in you, right? Or in my case, I had some experiences where I wasn't in high integrity in life and bad things happened to me. And so I learned, oh, you better behave in integrity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so you have this unfortunate realization through a business partner who's stealing from you, and all these things are happening. What do you do?
I sell my half of the business because, like I said, God don't be finished with me. And I'm like, I will beat you up. Like, I'm not that one. I still don't go to Sunny Isles to this day because I know she live out there. And like, I don't know if I'm over it. I am over it, but you don't know if you're over it until you actually get put into the fire. Like, you could say you're over it, but then like, I ain't seen the lady in 10 years. So
yeah.
It's certain things for me that like, most things don't bother me. I don't like, you'll rarely be able to get a rise, especially doing something to me personally. But like, if a person can look you in your face and lie and continuously do it and betray your trust, for me, that's like spitting on me.
Ooh.
So like, it's very disrespectful. So I don't know the level, because if she was just to walk by and not speak to me, I would be completely fine. I know it. Right? I would not say nothing to her, but it would be the moment that she like is excited.
Oh my gosh.
I would be like, are you out your mind?
So we want to avoid that for the time being, right? Because you're a mother, you have a little daughter, you got to like, you got to protect her interests as well. So, okay, so that was your first business, doesn't work out. You learn about integrity.
Yep.
And somehow you end up, go ahead, please.
Which is why every business that I've had since then has been with my family or with someone that I have built a long relationship with, and I know how they handle pressure. Because for me, everybody gets along when you're getting along, everything's great when it's great. But when something hits the fan, you need to know what you got.
Yeah.
Do you have, and so I use the boiling water terms because I'm like, you either have an egg or a potato, and you don't know until the water boils.
Oh,
so a potato gets soft and the egg gets hard.
Oh, this is one of those LaVonneisms. For y'all that don't know, you got to follow LaVonne on social media. She's got lots of LaVonneisms, these brilliant little one-liners. So it's the boiling water. You don't know somebody is an egg or a potato. So I had to ask this because I rock with this. I love this philosophy. I was telling like a family friend the other day, I don't really consider a girlfriend to be a friend until we've had a boiling water moment, and not in a toxic way. Okay. Let me just be clear about that. I'm not like trying to create drama between relationships, but I'll give you an example. One of my newer friends, we have very different political views, very different political views. And when we talk about it, I feel my blood boil a little bit. Okay. And I could tell she feels it too. And so in that moment, how do we respond? Right? Do we like back away and then I go talk trash about her to my husband? Like, how do we handle those moments where we're not in agreement? And I feel like that is how I know if I can trust somebody. Like, how do you respond to the boiling water?
I completely agree. That's why I don't allow people to do things or say things like, I said that because I was mad. Okay.
Ooh.
That's how if you can justify behaving any kind of way because you are mad, it's untrustworthy for me.
I feel like we could do a whole segment on communication even, right? And how it relates to situations like trust, even your entire business model. You're ultimately helping people protect, right, their own interests. It's like, I see these themes from your life that you're sharing and how all of them are really like current and present in what you're doing. I find that really fascinating. What, from your perspective, how have some of the things we even talked about, maybe things we haven't talked about, how have they influenced what you currently do professionally?
Most of what influenced the creation of the businesses and things like that and the way that I do them came from being an outlier. So as a Black woman in finance, real estate, securities, we don't exist. There's like five. Like if I go to a conference of 1,000 people, there'll be like 5 women.
Wow.
The other ones won't be Black. There'll be one Black guy. He went to Harvard or something, and that's it. Oh, the other Black guy is with me. Like we came together. And so I watch and listen to the underestimation, right? And so like just like the preconceived notions, the ideas. And I saw that a lot with like being a young athlete and people saying like athletes do athlete, like these just like blanket ridiculous statements like, you know them? What? First of all, to completely denigrate a person's intelligence by their profession is ignorant. Okay.
Agreed. So absolutely. And you're literally like a living testament to how false that actually is.
Exactly. But I remember being in college and my professors being like, oh, you did your homework. You did the reading. Like, excuse me? First of all, you're petty. Second of all, you think I came to school to learn nothing? That's crazy. But I also got a C in the class because I chided the teacher. So, and basically the teacher was trying to have a bird course. So you come to the class, you sit there, you do nothing. And mind you, the class is commercial bank management.
Whoa.
So something I'm actually interested in. And so we're sitting there and she's talking nonsense, trash about nothing every day for weeks. And so something happened, like Goldman was doing interviews on campus and she said that one of the students embarrassed us because they didn't know what gap principles meant, which, you know, is an accounting term. And so I said,
excuse me.
Well, how do you expect that people know things if you don't teach them things? What do you think that we want to sit in here and talk to you about reality TV every day? This is you deciding unilaterally that we are too stupid to desire more, but you're in a PhD program, so you clearly care about your education, but you think that we are not smart or desirous enough to want to actually learn things. And she gave me a C.
And she gave you
in the class in the class that don't got no work. But
right. That's hilarious. This is like interesting to me because when I was in law school, I told you I hated the experience. Okay. I hated it. But I had a Black teacher, went to Harvard, couldn't wait to take her class. Okay. And where I went to law school at Georgia State, they really rallied around the Black students because the numbers are not for us. They're not in favor of you even graduating. I did not graduate. I chose to leave, but regardless, that's a statistic, there's a number. So they really rallied behind us. The school itself really put in a lot of emphasis on like really joining the Black Law Student Association and like all those things, right? And I got into this Black teacher's class. I'm not going to say her name because I think she's a wonderful human. However, the entire class, to me, it was like race in the law. It was one of those, right? Classes.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire class was literally like anti-white people. It was all Black nationalism. It was all like Native American. It was like any like minority class that had experienced any oppression from the law. It all came back to like bad whitey. And I'm, first of all, I'm not white. Like, I'm white mom. Like,
yeah.
You know, I am no longer confused about my identity. Okay.
Yeah.
By the time I'm in law school. And so I chime in and I'm like, let's pause. And I'm like always devil's advocate in life in general. Like if you're around me long enough, you'll know I will always be like, yeah, but what about this? And I think that's the lawyer, the debater in me that's always like looking at the other side.
Yeah.
But so I start presenting alternative theories. Like, well, what about this? And what about that? And is this really the right thing? Girl, she hated me. She hated me. And I got a straight up D in her class, a D. And she is the professor who is known for giving Black students the upper hand in her class because she wants to, you know, fudge the numbers and help us make it. She gave me a D.
I would have had to go to the dean and say that she gave my half white side a D, and I'm like, I'm going to be.
But you know, but at the end of the day, I think like when it comes to being discerning, when it comes to having a perspective of what's right for you, and when it's time for you to say like, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, even as an entrepreneur, a woman, a mother, you need to have those experiences in your life when the stakes are low. I'll take a D in order to not end up in a situation that could actually affect my life in a very negative way. Right.
Yep. Man. So it's so interesting. I always find like people going to law school to be so interesting, but also like how you decide where to go, because as people who didn't have like lawyers for parents, I literally had no guidance whatsoever. It was sort of like, this is where I live and here are the choices. And I applied to the two places that I could drive to the easiest, which was Florida A&M in Florida. And but not knowing that like they grade differently and like there's so many more factors to it. And I didn't realize how big of a difference that would be until like, so the first week of law school, they tell me, so we're in this like, you know, orientation thing, and it's like in an auditorium, and they're doing the whole like, look to your left, look to your right, somebody's not going to be there thing.
Classic.
Obviously, I take this as like a challenge. So I'm going to Korea the next day, no matter what, because I'm in the middle of the track season. So
oh my God,
World Championships is in Korea. I'm leaving the next day, and they're like, if you miss more than 6 days, you're gonna fail. Blah blah blah. Blah. So I'm like, first of all, there's 30,000. There are 30,000 lawyers in Florida. If y'all think I think this is rocket science,
wow,
I don't. So that's my mindset. My mindset is always like, prove it. Like, you think this is so hard, you're gonna have to show me. So, but then I get to Daegu, Korea for the World Championships, and I have a friend who also had just finished law school, had just passed the bar. He's also an Olympian, and he also has an MBA. So he's like my guiding star. I know you can do it because I seen him do it. Mind you, he went to Harvard to undergrad though. Like, so, but so he's in a whole nother like stratosphere as it pertains to like being very book smart. But I don't care. I'm like, he's my guiding light. If he could do it, I could do it. But what I realized, we were having a conversation about what was being said at this law school orientation. And he said, well, that's the difference between a small school and an Ivy League school. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, because for our orientation, the entire first 2 weeks, all they're telling us is how we're going to take over the world.
Wow. Get out of here.
And how we will be the brains that will shape the future. And there's no one speaking any negativity into your psychological growth.
Are you serious?
And I'm like, for this reason, I am now sending my kid to an Ivy League school.
That is the first time I have ever heard that.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, okay. So now my mind is going to like all the complications of why do we have to only give it to those who are privileged enough or intelligent enough? Blah, 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 blah. My mind is going crazy. My mind is going
And
crazy about this. But this is what I
and
told
that
you about jurisprudence. Remember, I told you like I
mhm,
hated law school so much. I was like, why does it have to be this way? And you're telling me
yep.
that it doesn't if I was just like smart enough to get into Harvard.
And it's not that it's Harvard. What it is so belief I believe belief is trickle down. So like
Mm,
if you have the empowered people who really believe that and they become your deans, they become the
mm,
people who run your school, they pass their beliefs on to you. Just like the people who happen to be empowered to be the highest of this public law school situation, they were hazed. They
yeah.
feel like they have to teach you this way. They
Yeah.
feel like you can only be motivated by negative stimuli. They
Yes.
believe that. So they've never been exposed to being talked life into. They've never experienced having someone say you are great and no one can tell you ain't great.
I can't even I mean
That's the problem from the beginning.
girl.
How do we only push absolute belief in self and your ability to figure things out to the children, to the teachers, to the everybody?
Mm,
Because what I now know, because I am a mother and I am also a mother of additional children that are older and they go to school, and I listen to the students, I mean the teachers and the administration make excuses for
mm.
the children's behavior. So like I have an old school black mama mentality. So when we go in the room and they all like, let me start off by saying your kid is great and da 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 da. But she's social and we move her around and da 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 because that's how sixth graders act. And I said, that's not how sixth graders act. If you told her to sit down, she's gonna sit down. I don't
Mm,
understand why we making excuses for her based on an age group. She has
mm,
decided she doesn't give a damn what you say and she's going to do what she wants to do because
mm.
y'all are allowing it. She
Ooh.
doesn't turn this work in on time because you told her, because they're like, we give you 3 and 4 chances. I said, that's why she's not turning it in. She's smart
Mm.
enough to understand that without repercussions, if I'm not going to get penalized, I'm turning it in whenever I feel like it.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm
So
like, you're not holding her accountable to the standard that we have because it, I grew up in the if you don't turn it in on time, you get points off. And
okay.
enough
Oh, this
points.
is this is an interesting juxtaposition. I just want to highlight this
Okay.
moment for a second, LaVonne. I think most of the things. So my kids are just tiny, right? They're 2 and 8 months. So I'm
Yes.
not to school age yet, but in my head, the narrative I think that's at play is usually the school has a higher standard than the parents, and the school is trying to get the parents on board to do ungodly amounts of homework. And that's what I hear. You're telling something a little different. So this daughter, son, stepdaughter, stepson.
Daughters.
Okay.
Yep.
Daughters
Mm-hmm.
are actually not meeting your standard at home because this example being set at school is lower.
Yep.
Wow.
The reason they come in with the let me lighten the blow, your kid is great, is because what you just said, parents come in cussing and carrying on about how the teachers and the administration is picking on their kid. And I'm like, don't worry, we're not those people. We completely understand that she don't be listening. However, this is the standard that is set, and this is the expectation that we have. Don't let the whole 9 weeks go past without saying anything if this is what's going on.
Interesting.
I don't care about school that much. But what I do care about is 3 things: effort, attitude, and consistency. If you give enough effort, if you have a good attitude, and you consistently show up and do what's required, your grades will take care of themselves. If you have an effort attitude, all of the other things trickle down. So that's what I'm trying to just impart those things like, all right, I get it. They're not teaching you
Mm.
things that you're super interested in. She wants to be an actress. However, the first people to get robbed are bad at math and don't read.
You know, as a moms, we love to talk about what it takes to raise children. We're always looking for the thing. I think as high achieving moms, there's often a perspective of perfection, right? I know I'm aware of this in my own life, my own battle with the need to be perfect, or the battle to make everything the best that it could possibly be. Is a great asset. When it comes to things that are completely out of your control, like any influence you have over another person, your husband, your partner, your child, as you know, you lose influence as they get older, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that high achieving part of you that's always been part of you? How do you use that as an asset? And does it make any unique challenges for you as a mother?
Yeah, so an asset is I am 100% going to look things up. I'm going to find you the best resources, going to like go above and beyond. I think the challenge is figuring out how to get the stimuli you want from people who are completely different, who also have their own set of challenges, because these are my bonus kids. So they live in two separate households. They have different sets of rules, whatever the case may be. And so for me, my only goal with them is, how is our voice going to be the loudest when it's time to make a decision?
Mm.
Because I watched cousins of mine end up in prison, having been raised exactly like me, having been exposed to the same things as me, like growing up playing piano, being exposed, travel, everything, and deciding, because the loudest voice in their ear when the pivot is coming and when the decision has to be made is not what your parents taught you.
Interesting.
Because it just wasn't the most interesting or the most like compelling at the moment, because you were, young, 25, you just making decisions based on like the things that are around you.
Right.
And so for me, I'm always like, how do we keep being the loudest voice in their head when this, like, okay, you can go to the party, you can drink, you can smoke, you can do whatever. But when you realize that you've gotten to the limit where it's like too far, I got to make another decision. Do I call my parents and just take whatever comes with that? Or do I let it get out of control? Like, I want to be, I'm like, how do we? And so that's my like, my inner perfectionism is like, okay, say more, do more, da 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 da. But like, when I talk to other people who have older children, they're always like, just let them know that you're there for them, and that you have given them everything that they need, and that if they do call you in that moment, just don't ask no questions, just pick them up, and they'll tell you when they're ready.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, I like that advice. And I remember, so growing up, me and my mother were very close. I speak to her every day. But like when I was
blessing.
Young,
that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so that's a whole
it is. We could do a whole other episode on that one, okay?
But I remember when I was young, I didn't tell her anything about me though. I would tell her about everybody else's business. Like, you ain't gonna believe who's having a baby with such, like all of that. And that, so she was like my friend, my safe space. I didn't think she was cool until I was 25 though. So like, I'm like, how do I create the environment that's like, we have a great relationship, but like, don't come in here cussing like we friends now.
Because that's the challenge, right? For me at least, I want my children to feel like I'm their ally. I'm on their side. Like, I'm always going to have their back, but I also need them to respect me enough to know that I will correct them for their own good. And it's, again, it's like for me at least, I get lost in this world of social media and of this and that. And I'm asking my mom friends, and everybody has these like, you got to do this way, you got to do that method, you got to do these things. But at the end of the day, how do we indoctrinate our children with the right beliefs and with the degree of comfort that would allow them to say, I'm in this bad situation. I'm drunk. Can you please come and get me? Like, I don't want them to do that kind of behavior, but because you really can't control what behavior they're going to have. You can only influence it. How do you put it in their mind, their unconscious, to make it their belief, to know that they're going to be able to call you, and they're not going to get the punishment or the circumstance of them calling you is less than the circumstance of staying in an unsafe place.
That's right. And man, so that's so good. And one of the things that I like, me and my partner really focus on, and I've had to like really drill this into him, because he grew up in an environment that didn't allow him to make mistakes. So when you make a mistake, you get cussed at, you get beat, you get whatever. So like that's his normal. And so I had to like correct him from like doing that to them. I'm like, you have to let them fail forward. You have to let them figure things out. You have to sort of encourage the mistakes so that they can keep going. Because if you don't let them do that, you'll be an adult who doesn't try things. And I know lots of them.
Oh, I love this. This is just giving me Sarah Blakely. I mean, I talk about this all the time with clients. I think I've probably talked about it on this show before, but she has this great quote where she says that every day she would come home from school, her dad would ask them what they failed at. And if they didn't say, I failed at this, he would be genuinely disappointed. And he ingrained in them at a young age that failure was something to do. It meant that you were trying and that you were growing. And it just reframes this idea. As we know, Sarah Blakely sold the company Spanx and is like a billionaire.
Yes.
Right? So how do you encourage it? How do you encourage failure, especially for someone like you, that from the story that we've learned today, you're pretty much good at everything that you ever tried. And if you weren't good at that thing, you found a way, or someone encouraged you into a route where you could exceed.
Yeah, I think that like I frame it a different way. So like I don't really care about winning that much, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I just hate losing.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Okay, that's very honest.
And so if you focus more on like being good enough to not lose, you eventually win. And so when I think about failure, I don't even use negative or words that have negative connotation so much.
Okay.
So I'll say like, you keep trying until it works. So your 10,000 hours looks different from everybody else, but most people's 10,000, y'all could be doing the same things and you'll end up being better because your focus is on getting better, not just doing it. And so like, but the difference is like, you don't want to be the person who spends all of your time not trying things because you're comparing your first attempt to someone else's like 10,000th attempt. And you just have to keep attempting. And I'm not calling any of them failures. They're just attempts. It's like science. At some point, it's going to work. Get to the work. Get to where it works. Don't just keep like using the same filament because I'm going to just think you're a little slow. But if you keep like adjusting, you'll figure it out. And so I call them attempts. I don't call them failures.
I love that. I love it because you know what it is? It's instead of just a reframe of the common narrative, it's a shift in identity. It's saying it's not that you have to be bad before you're good. It's that you are going to be persistent until it works.
Yep.
And that is a whole trait. That's like some people are defined by their persistence. Right?
That's right. And I've had so many people change my entire perception on brilliance. So like I used to think that like being smart was great, good enough, whatever. And then I had several clients who are like really successful, like it's had 9-figure exits and that kind of thing. And they're like, consistency is more important than brilliance, because a spark of brilliance may get you something, but if you consistently did something, you would reach that anyways. So you will lose your unfair advantage if you're inconsistent. So I sort of akin that to like discipline. The reason why I really like working with athletes and things of that nature is because we have an inherent discipline that exceeds how regular people's brain work. So a regular person will say, I did not run today because it rained. An athlete would say, I don't give a damn about no rain. If I have to work out, I have to work out. You're going to do it regardless of whatever the external factors are. And so, like, I don't care how I feel, I'm going to go anyways. That's not necessarily the trait of regular people because they've not grown in their discipline. Discipline is definitely a muscle. So you have to like practice, 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 practice. And athletes just have happened to have done it for a very long time before they become like adults, when they have to like really prove that they can do things. But like when the rubber hits the road, you'll very rarely hear an excuse.
I literally keep saying this. This is so many different episodes. There's so many segments of things that you're sharing here that are just profound. The idea that discipline is a muscle, that discipline is something that is curated over time. It's about consistency, and that consistency is ultimately what can lead you to the same result as a strike of brilliance, except one, you learn something and you can repeat it, and the other, it's gone. It's a flash in the pan.
And then, okay. And so I got one more.
Yeah. Okay, let's give it to me. I want it.
All right. So all of this so I am definitely blessed because like I've had my father is that person who's like, be consistent, be disciplined, show up every morning. You need to do this, this, and that. And the biggest thing that he impressed upon me was, when you are disciplined and consistent, you will end up with confidence, because confidence is really you proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. And every time that you show up and you do the thing, you will be like, damn, I did that. And now you're more confident.
Good. That's so good. My goodness. So one of the things that I tend to come across a lot with entrepreneurs, right? Because, I tend to focus on high achieving women who have already been successful in their careers, and they're wanting to get out of that 9-to-5. They're wanting to get out of that, like, I have to exchange my time for money. And the stage of my career that I'm in, which I'm glad you're on the show because you're a perfect bridge to like where I am versus like the next level of career. A lot of the women that come to me, they already crushed it in something. They're executive producer. They won a bunch of awards. They're already crushing it, and they're looking for the freedom that comes from entrepreneurship and sharing their expertise to that next generation, right? But confidence is one of the things that comes up so often. And while there are things we can do in terms of NLP, reframing, mental and emotional, there's all these like things that I do to help people realize that the confidence can come from within them, that their lack of confidence came from something maybe talk about. I can help people do that. But when it comes to something like learning high ticket sales, for example, a lot of people freak out about high ticket sales. Oh my God, I don't want to ask people for $10,000. Like, that's so uncomfortable for me, right? Like, they get weird about it because they don't like the confidence. When I always tell them is like, in this case, confidence is directly related to experience. Anybody that's never done something that they feel is taking them to a new level is going to lack confidence. And quite frankly, if you don't lack confidence, you probably have gumption, you probably have belief, you probably have encouragement, right? But true confidence that comes from the 50th call that you've done, where somebody pays you $35,000 cash on the phone, that confidence is much different than the first time you went in and they paid you $6,000 or nothing at all, right? I think, like you said, to a degree,
you're proving it.
You're proving
to yourself.
You're proving it to yourself, and that confidence grows. It's a muscle. It's another example of a muscle.
Exactly. And that's why I feel like a lot of people lack confidence, because over time they let themselves down. So the whole like, it's a new year, new me, I'm gonna go work out, and then they work out for 7 days, and then like, so every time you like make yourself a promise and then you don't keep it, it also diminishes your confidence. And so like, for me, I'm all about like output goals. So I don't set goals that I can't control. So what that means is I can't control if I'm going to lose 20 pounds, but I can control that I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week for 30 minutes. So I'm only focused on inputs. So every single time I make a new goal, it only has to do with what I can do. So if I'm going to do 100 calls, if I'm going to make new content, I'm going to do 1 hour on Tuesdays, and like that's going to be the thing, and I'm going to show up every time. That's me proving to myself that I can do it. But also only on things that I can control. You can't control how many new customers you're going to get. You can't control who's going to like it, any of that.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
only control your ability to show up for yourself. And so like I focus only on that.
Goals by LaVonne. I love this. A couple of things that I talk about a lot is feedback loops. Every feedback loop is like there's an action that I took, it led into a result. And then the feedback you get, if you focus on that and analyze that, you can rewire your brain. You can change your belief system. You can build all those things. And the other part of what you're saying that I just love, like this makes my heart beat type of conversation, is a conversation around habit building. So one of my favorite books of all time as it relates to personal development is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what he's saying and what you are proving is that it's more about making an action that counts as a vote of confidence in the direction of your identity. So I will be the type of person that works out 6 days a week. I am the type of person that runs in the rain. I am the type of person who does this. That stacks up and that builds into an identity, which is way harder to corrupt than, right, I hit this target or I didn't hit this target.
Yep. I love the way you frame that. I look at most things and I realized this from like working with really, really wealthy people, was that because for me, as a person who like, I grew up fine, like we ain't missed no meals, was good, but and we actually did really well. But I looked at people who had lots of money, which is like, for me, you know, you don't need anything. Like, why are you sad? I'm so confused. And it always came down to they did something and now, like, so let's say they reached the goal. They didn't reset a goal. There's no new vision. It's literally just floating in trance at this moment. And so the setting of the vision and then having the inputs that give you that incremental, like, okay, you put a little money in the bank, put a little money in the bank, put a little money in the bank, so that you can get towards that vision, is what really is the driving force to keep people like fulfilled and happy and
I agree.
I happen to like when your vision has more to do with others than yourself, because it keeps a different metric, because you're not looking for this like happiness thing for yourself on the other side. It's sort of like, I want to impact 1,000 lives. And every time you get to check one off, you're just a little bit more excited.
And this is what I love about where you are too. Sorry to cut you off, but I have to just point this out because and we've exchanged slightly about this online. I'm an entrepreneur, right? And for some people, that's like, yeah, I think in terms of marketing, the average person is marketed this idea that they should be an entrepreneur. And that's it, you know, that's your life. That's the end all be all. But the reality is entrepreneurship can look very different. In my little sector of entrepreneurship, we build essentially an ecosystem that we bring people into. We lead them, we shape them, we coach them. And then what they end up with in the other side is their own little ecosystem to bring people into. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. It is probably one of the hardest forms of entrepreneurship to engage in, because you're a solopreneur in the beginning. And you're a solopreneur until you prove your concept through impact enough that then you can build a team. But it's the hardest thing to do. Whereas usher in LaVonne, usher in the people that you work with, there's another path to that impact. There's another way to make huge impact. Like in reality, I've worked with almost 100 entrepreneurs at this point, which is like such a cool thing for people in our world to be able to say, right? But I'm limited. There's only so many people that I can reach with the gifts that I have in my program and the way that I lead people. It's so handheld. It's so on, you know what I mean? Like it requires so much of my attention. There's so much to limit. But your world, the world that you enter into, the way that you get to impact people, for me, this is that leap that we talk about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Regardless of what you think about Robert Kiyosaki, his concept of the cash flow quadrant, whether you're an employee, you're self-employed, which is really where I am. Like, I'm trying to go from self-employed to business owner. That's the leap that I'm making. But then you have investor, and to be in that space where you're an investor, your impact is exponential, right?
Yes.
Tell us more about that. LaVonne, how do we get there?
So I want to start first by, okay. So again, I told you law school ruined my brain and all right. So although there's a billion gurus on the internet, just like shoving entrepreneurship down everybody's throat, I also want to point out that like the idea of a job is less than 200 years old. Most people before that was creating their own jobs and figuring it out. So the creation of the job market and the school system that pumps out people who become job havers, all new concepts. And it's more around like cuddling you into the comfort of not needing to figure things out.
Ooh.
However, I think that there is a certain level of false security that comes with that, obviously, because you are not in control of your own ability to keep said job. So that's more scary for me than any of the risks that you can take on your own. But that's also because I have been sort of brainwashed into full belief in my ability to figure things out. I like the idea of working from the middle. So working from the middle means that you can either first create a job for yourself, which allows you to like create systems and ideas and like perfect things, and then hand those things off to others. Or when I say work from the middle, I don't start businesses anymore. I only buy businesses that already work. And then I can add the things that I've learned by being a self-employed person to make that business better, because, you know, just by the beauty of time, we are blessed in a way that you can instantly go into a business that's been run by a 70-year-old and make it better, because you're going to use like online accounting. You're going to be able to bill people faster. You're going to be able to run around and get access to more credit. It's just so many things that like we are just in the age where we know a little bit more and we have access to like better knowledge of how to use technology that can like make a business that did fine with a 70-year-old running it over the last 50 years, that I think that like starting businesses is overrated.
Yeah.
So
it's acquisition entrepreneurship.
Yes.
You buy, then you build these, right? This idea
that is the exact premise. And you don't know what you don't know. So like that's like I got exposed to the ability to buy businesses really early because I was in the business school that was focused on that, like mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
And so that first business that I had, I bought it. I didn't start it from scratch. I just had a terrible partner. So
you exited, but you know, there's still some like for your like first business to not go the way that it wanted to. I feel like that is again, it's a sign that you're a high performer. But for someone like me, I'm like, that's incredible that you were able to buy your first business. That's a concept I discovered. We talked about my my former mentor, Bretson Holcomb.
Yeah,
he ventured into acquisition entrepreneurship. I was with him at a conference when he was like, this is the new thing I'm doing. Like, I need to get introduced to this dude. And now he's just like crushing it with acquisition entrepreneurship. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have known this concept sooner. And then of course you have influencers like Cody Sanchez that I just think she's incredible, that are kind of making this known. But if you're not in her world, you've probably never heard of this idea that you could buy a business and grow it from there.
Yes.
This is work from the middle. Is this what you mean?
That's work from the middle. Don't start it. Use the skills that you have to make something that already exists better.
Okay, I gotta ask you this question. I know you got more to say, but I have to ask you this.
Go ahead.
So for me, okay, like I greatly appreciate the 5 years I have been having this business, learning how to turn it into a business, how to scale it, how to systemize it, right? Developing all of these other skills I had to develop so that this business could support my life, right? Like that was always my goal. I didn't want a job. I'm a terrible employee. I've been fired from more jobs then anybody I know, because I buck the system, I don't like this, I'm gonna tell you about it, then I get fired, right? So entrepreneurship was like the only path for me to make money, to succeed, and to have that influence over the output in terms of impact. Like I wanted to do something that was meaningful, right? See the conversation about law school and acting.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to tell you, like, I love this business, and I think I'll probably always do some form of mentoring, like always, because it fills me. But I'm looking at that next level. And I'm like, when is my time to jump? How do you know, especially for the person that maybe is like me that's listening, how do you know how to make that leap when you have had your own job, you have been an entrepreneur, and you're looking at doing acquisitions to get to the middle, right? When do you know you've had enough skills, your credit, your like, what is that point for the person that is in this position and wants to go to the middle?
So I would say that I release you and you are free and you can make the choice anytime you feel like it. Um, Most things people don't do is just because of their own internal voice that is saying, read more, learn more. You need another person, you need another this, you need some more time. You need like all of those things are like limiting beliefs that are
Ooh,
not actually real.
ooh,
So, but the one thing that I will say is that the focus as it pertains to like turning yourself and basically firing yourself from the business is aligning with A players. And people say that, and I feel like it's really cliche at this point. But the truth is like you got to find the outliers who are going to teach you things, not the person who's just going to come in and listen to you, because you
mm-hmm,
can hire VAs to do that kind of stuff. You
mm-hmm,
want to bring in people who are going to be 1 + 1 = 10
mm,
because their thoughts exponentially grow what you've already been doing.
mm.
And those people don't cost money. They build, they pay for themselves and they explode the business.
Whoa. What?
Yes. And so that's more about like using your personality to align with the people who believe in you and the things that you're doing. And they're just like, yes, I'm in. Let's do
That's
it. Let's run.
that's incredible. That's not a concept in my world, right? That's not a concept in my world. Like the whole thing about limiting beliefs and getting rid of them, this is part of what I do for people because that's what I had to do to get where I am now. And yeah, I have the foresight now that I'm in this stage where I have certain skills, I have certain beliefs, I have a new reality. Like trailer park girl from Kansas, blue collar working parents that never made more than $50,000 a year, right? To be full-time entrepreneur and can pretty much do what I want to do within a certain level. That's a concept that it took so much effort for me to learn how to break those. And so now I get to pass the shortcuts on to people. You know, I say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's where you are. Don't worry about it. We're going to click this over. And then in 12 weeks, now I have a client, for example, that made 10K in 10 days. She came to me, I just want to start a business. And then 10 weeks later, she does this. And I was able to help people shortcut that. So that's in my world. But what you just said, that that's on the outside of what I've even been exposed to.
Yep.
Like, what are
And
the
it, and
rules
it,
of engagement? That's my mind is like, what do you mean? Like, what do I do? Do I ask you to do I invite you to a coffee? Do I say how do I like that? My brain immediately goes to how.
and it, again, I am the who, not how.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah, 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 yeah,
the
yeah.
the like, but really it's more about having conversations and finding those who are aligned because like my partner, him and his twin brother, they've been running this business together. They had employees, people who listened to them. This lady who was introduced to them by a mentor who was about to retire, she's like, I can really help you guys with these things, blah, blah, blah. They bring her on as a CFO slash executive assistant. You know how small businesses are, they ain't got no real titles. So she comes in and they 3x their revenue in 1 year because she implemented systems, she implemented processes, she hired people who were better because she was better at vetting people. So they didn't have as much turnover. It was like
Mm,
all of these little things that she was doing that took things that allowed them to focus in their zone as genius. And the business just grew and grew and grew. And that one hire, which they felt like they couldn't afford, and they had to have someone break that belief to them, like,
Right.
okay, you're looking at this as she needs $100,000 salary, but what you need to be focused on is if that costs you $8,655 a month, how much money do you need to bring in to cover that
Right.
every month?
Right.
Don't focus on the year, focus
Right.
on the month.
Yep.
And if this person is who you say they are or you believe them to be, it will work.
Mm. This is huge. I honestly, that was the shift I had on a sales call with my first mentor, where he broke down the idea that like, this isn't an investment in me. You're not giving me your money. This is about you. This is about you investing in your commitment to your own said desire.
Mhm.
And I get that. I get that. But here's where I'm stuck. And you like, I'm giving you permission, LaVonne, okay? All right, this
Okay.
is my podcast, but I'm telling you, girl, come on, break it, break my mindset here. The idea that I understand the leadership model,
Mhm.
right? In my own journey, I went from charging people $20 a session to my current offer is multiple. It's like, I don't want to say it in case somebody on the call wants to be a client because I don't work like that. But what I will tell you is that it's 5 figures to work with me for the short term. And making that leap, right? I understood some things about value, about leadership, about mentorship, about investment, about service. I get it.
Yep.
But I am literally like in the market for mentorship. I just met with a woman from my church last week, blew my mind, right? And my mind is also now recognizing that maybe I don't know how to be in a mentee mentor relationship that isn't purely transactional.
Okay. And so it took me a long time to go the other way because I am surrounded by successful people. So
Right.
I'm like, what am I gonna pay somebody that for? When I can call somebody who will answer the question for me. But what I realized is like, although there are lots of people who love me who will give me said information, it's not framed. It's like going into a library. Yes, there is an infinite amount of wisdom there. But when you pay for it to be like coaching or a specific mentorship, it has parameters and they're like trying to get you to learn something or to get something very quickly that is like breaking beliefs and things like that.
Yes.
So it took me a long time to go the other direction
Mm.
because I am much more used to the fluidity of like friendship that has mentor ability. Like most people who I call my mentors would say we are friends.
That's crazy. That's crazy. First of all, that's amazing because we're definitely coming at it opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm always like literally this amount of money. I always have budget set aside to invest in someone. I always need a leader. I do really well in those relationships. I know how to be led, especially when I'm paying somebody and I believe in them. If I get to that point with you, I trust you,
Mhm.
like I'll lay it out. Anyway, interesting perspective. I think we might have to continue this conversation. We might have to do a part 2 in person. I would love
Oh
to
yeah.
do, yeah.
So I just opened an office in Atlanta. I mean, I don't know what part of Atlanta you live in because
Yeah.
Atlanta don't be Atlanta, but
Nah. I'm in Marietta. Right.
yes, our office is in Alpharetta. I don't
Oh,
know if that's
great.
close or far.
It's fine.
I
It is what
like
it is.
I literally know nothing about Atlanta's Atlanta. I just know that I'm never actually in Atlanta when I'm in Atlanta.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah. You fly in and then you drive through.
yeah,
Um,
I was in like Buford and Decula and everybody, and I tell people I'm in Atlanta and they'd be like, I'm not coming to see you.
Decula is not a place. Decatur. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So we'll have to TBD on that one. Before we go, I do have this final question. LaVonne, well, two final questions. First of all, for someone that wants to work with you, that's listening to this and thinking, I need this woman in my life. I feel like I'm an athlete. I mean, I am an athlete, right? I'm a successful entrepreneur on the verge of exiting. Or basically I'm an investor and I need LaVonne. I need her to help me. How do they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me a bunch of places. I'm on social media, La Hurdles too, on Instagram, Idlette on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'm myself, just name. But if you are looking to learn these things while implementing them, I have a program called Wealth Wise. It's 12 weeks. And I'll go through all of the things we just talked about: creating your own asset, being private, taking your name out of public records, asset protection, being an abundant giver, setting up your own foundations, that kind of stuff. But we do it while doing. We learn it while doing. So the worst thing for me is joining a bunch of stuff where I just learn things and then I'm excited, and forget about it because
Yep.
I don't do it.
No application. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's 12 weeks. It's got lots of homework. I call it the MBA JD of high achievement that doesn't require you to go to class
I love it.
once a week.
I love that. That's
And
good.
that's my new version of being able to be a little more less cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
Because the one-on-one where I really just sit inside of people's business, number one, takes way too much time and
Mhm.
also has a real high ticket on it.
Yeah.
So I created this program for even people who are in the middle or in just business people in general, so that you can know and implement these things as you grow as well. I also started a beginner program called 90-Day Finance. It's so that you can structure your business properly from the beginning. Don't get me started. I be getting stressed out when I'm like, so send me your operating agreement. And people are like, I ain't got one.
Yeah. I love this. So it's access to your wisdom, your experience, your expertise as a lawyer, MBA, and then just your general experience in working in investments. All right, we're almost done. Sorry, I've like
Okay.
really taken a lot of your time. I appreciate you. So it's the accumulation of all the things that you do as a professional and your experience that can get it in these two courses. Yes.
Yes.
Love it. And my last question is, you have a very big life, huge, and you're a mom and you're a partner and you're doing all of these amazing things. So my question for you is, how do you do it?
With a team, with
Mm,
automation, with boundaries. So most people know my number one boundary is I do not take incoming calls that are not scheduled. So in order to be able to do it, you have to set your own boundaries, get your own rules, and really align yourself with people who want to be a part of that journey.
amazing, amazing advice. And I like it. I don't like when people be calling me out the blue. If it's a FaceTime, you're my friend, I know. But if you just call me, I feel you. So that's actually great advice. LaVonne, thank you so much for today. This has been incredible. And I'm sure that your story is going to not only inspire, but truly educate so many of our listeners. So thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate you so much. Such an enjoyable conversation, and I hope we get to do a part two in person.
Oh, yeah. It's on. We're going to do it. It's scheduled. Consider it done.